So NBC News hired the former RNC chair to be a news contributor at NBC, which is something they do all the time. Michael Steele used to be the former RNC chair, always on. They've got that Steve Schmidt.
Wallace, too.
Steve Schmidt. And they gave a show to George Bush's press secretary, the defender of the Iraq War and of torture, of war crimes. Nicole Wallace has her own show, or had. I don't know if she still has it. I bet she does, on MSNBC. And they most recently just hired Joe Biden's press secretary and gave her her own show. So these aren't even just contributors. But for some reason, they're losing their shit over this woman, the former RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel. So she's been, MSNBC bans her. That this is real. So I guess that open door policy over it, you got to read the fine print, because sometimes that open door policy just leads to an alley. After Trump lost, the RNC made multiple allegations of election fraud, and McDaniel helped promote multiple falsehoods about the election. That's what it says in the Daily Mail. So this is what it's about. This is what this is about. Like, they're in 2022, under her leadership, the RNC also voted on a censure resolution condemning Representative Liz Cheney and then Representative Adam Kinzinger, two GOP members on the House January 6th committee. Well, the January 6th committee was a total bullshit committee. They lied to you. They hid evidence. They cherry-picked things. And that's why it wasn't a real trial. That's why they never had a real trial. They had a show trial, because that's what they were doing. That's why they never charged Donald Trump with a crime on January 6th. Because he didn't commit one, and then he would get to give a defense, and he would reveal that they're all liars. They're lying about January 6th. Who is the January 6th committee? The ex-RNC chair admitted that Biden won the election fair and square. She admitted he won the election, stating that he's the legitimate president. That wasn't good enough for the people at MSNBC. He's the president. He's the legitimate president. I have always said, and I continue to say, there were issues in 2020. I believe that both can be true. And yes, America's standards have fallen so low that, yes, even Joe Biden can be president now. He could be a square dance caller, but he can't remember the words. She's also said she disagrees with Trump's plan to free people convicted of committing crimes during January 6th attack on the Capitol. I do not think people who committed violent acts on January 6th should be free. That's still not enough. So I don't know if you saw this video, Keaton.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So they did an interview with her. And after the interview, they come back to Chuck Todd at Meet the Press, or Press the Meet, whatever you want to call it. And listen to what he says. This, to me, is stunning.
Let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want.
They've literally hired George Bush's press secretary, his paid liar, who lied about the Iraq War, torture programs, war crimes. Nobody had a problem with that. They hired Michael Schmidt, who gave you Sarah Palin, or Steve Schmidt.
Steve Schmidt, yep.
Steve Schmidt, who gave you Sarah Palin. They've hired Michael Steele, the RNC chair. They've hired, most recently, Joe Biden's own press secretary, gave her a show. Like, these are all completely unethical things that they've done. And nobody had a problem until this. And here he is saying he can't trust her because who's might be paying her. Now, Chuck Todd, a man whose paycheck is funded by the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma. So he's lied about every war in his lifetime. He's lied about Ukraine. He's lied about Syria. He lied about Libya. He lied about Afghanistan. He lied about Iraq. That's Chuck Todd. He's lied about every war. His paycheck is paid by the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma. He lied about COVID. He lied about everything. Lied about masks. Lied about herd immunity, natural immunity, where the virus came from. He lied about the vaccines. Lied about transmission, contraction. He lied about everything. He lied about ivermectin. He lied about hydroxychloroquine. He lied about everything because he's paid by Big Pharma. He's also paid by oil companies. But listen to what he says about her.
by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract.
I can't get over this. Like, I can't even, again, I can't find the words to express to you how crazy. So what he's doing is describing himself. He's describing himself. How do you know Chuck Todd is ever telling you the truth? Because he doesn't want to mess up his contract. He's getting paid by the people he's supposed to be investigating. Why does corporate news suck so bad? Because they're funded by the people they're supposed to be investigating and exposing. And those people, why do you think Boeing, he used to do a segment called Fact Check, and it was funded by Boeing. Why do you think Boeing funds the Meet the Press? Is anybody watching Meet the Press in the market to buy a jet? No, the reason why they do that, they're not funding Chuck Todd and NBC News investigation. They're funding their non-investigations. So now Chuck Todd won't say the truth about the military-industrial complex because they don't want to lose that money. Just like the corporate news won't tell the truth about Big Pharma because they don't want to lose that money. The exact thing he's accusing this woman of, Chuck Todd is guilty of it in spades. Okay, here we go. I'll try not to stop it again.
She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah. So Chuck Todd and the rest of the people at NBC News, they're out there doing the reporting of the news just out of the goodness of their heart. In case you didn't know it. Okay.
Speaking for herself, or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So
that's part of the contract. So that's okay. Okay.
What about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination.
Oh, just the
so
RNC.
It is, that's where you be.
The people who pushed Russiagate at the top of their lungs 24/7 for the last 8 years have not stopped talking about red baiting anybody who is their political enemy. He's accusing someone else of being gaslighters. The biggest conspiracy and the dumbest conspiracy theory of my lifetime, the most ubiquitous, the most repeated, Russiagate, they're the ones who almost invented it.
Well, he's also acting like what? So the Republican Party started attacking the media 6 years ago. Republicans have been attacking the media for decades. That's their whole thing. Was it gaslighting before
Nixon.
the Trump era? Because it's common practice to hire political operatives once they get done. Like Newt Gingrich is a Fox News contributor. As you mentioned, they hired Nicole Wallace. They just hired Jen Psaki. Like, the transition from political operative to news contributor has been going on for forever. And Republicans have been bitching about the media, rightfully so, by the way, forever. So, like, what is new about this? What's new about this is that she has the ick factor of Trump.
That's
right?
it.
Even though, as I understand, Trump world is pretty happy that she is getting all this shit right now. They weren't happy with her.
Right, Trump got her kicked out.
Yeah, that's why she's bounced. But she still has that ick factor. And of course, NBC, their entire business model is to just virtue signal to a Trump deranged audience. And so she's not welcome because she is associated with Trump, even though the Trump people got her kicked out.
So the best is yet to come. I haven't played this whole thing. Wait to hear how he ends this.
In here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News? And when we make deals like this, and I've been at this company a long time, you're doing it for access to audience. Sometimes it's access to an individual. And we can have a journalistic ethics debate about that. And I'm willing to have that debate. And if you told me we were hiring her as a technical advisor to the Republican convention, I think that would be certainly defensible. If you told me we're talking to her, but let's see how she does in some interviews and maybe vet her with actual journalists inside the network. See if it's a two-way, what she can bring the network. So I do think, unfortunately, this interview is always going to be looked through the prism of who is she speaking for, right? I think you did everything you could do. You got put into an impossible situation, booking this interview, and then all of a sudden the rugs pull out from under you. You find out she's being paid to show up. It's unfortunate for this program, but I am glad you did the best that you could, and that's why the three of us are on here to try to bolster that editorial independence.
What? Editorial independence, Chuck Todd just said. He said they're all on there to bolster their editorial independence. You can't make this shit up. Keaton, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I got to admit, sometimes you can fake it, sometimes you can't fake it. Sometimes you just got to admit, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, I don't even know what he's talking about. This has been going on this is a standard practice thing. It's been going on forever. I don't understand. You gave Jen Psaki her own show, not just a contributor. She's got her own show. She does monologue after monologue after monologue that's completely unhinged, completely detached from reality. Do they question her journalistic ethics? She just got done working for Joe Biden 3 fucking weeks ago. Like, I don't understand what, especially that second part of the monologue. I can't even. Like you said at the beginning, you're lost for words. I'm lost for words. I don't even know what he means. I don't understand what the complaint is.
Let me find out. I tweeted something about this. Let me see. Let me try to quote myself. It's amazing to watch a mouthpiece for the establishment who is being paid by weapons manufacturers, big pharma, oil companies, Wall Street banks question the credibility of someone else because of who is paying them. This is beyond parody, beyond 1984 and Brave New World. Hard to believe this is actually real, but it is. Chuck Todd has lied about every war in my lifetime on behalf of who pays him. He's lied about all things COVID and vaccines on behalf of who's paid him. The same news organization he currently takes a check from hired Joe Biden's press secretary to host a news show. Yes, that's perfectly okay with him. Most people now realize that corporate news people are not journalists, but paid propagandists. They're not paid millions of dollars by billionaires to inform us, but to manufacture consent of the viewers for the agenda of the oligarchs. To hear him speak about editorial independence is pure comedy. It's already a fully written satirical piece. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, because okay, so she was so she was gaslighting us up until we hired her as a contributor, but Jen Psaki wasn't. I guess it must be because they never questioned the narrative coming out of Democratic circles.
They don't. So they don't
consider Jen Psaki to be a gaslighter who has integrity issues, because they just take whatever the Biden White House says at face value. So that must be what they're getting at, because I guess the RNC attacks the media, and so now she's being paid by the people she was attacking. Well, yeah, she was on the inside. Now she's part of, like that. That happens all the time. I'm sure Michael Steele had some not so nice things to say about the media when he was RNC chair. All the RNC chairs attack the media. They attack the media all the time. So what's unique about her, and how is her gaslighting different from the gaslighting of all the Democrat and the neocon GOP operatives like Nicole Wallace? How is it different from that? It's different because I guess you just never challenge the gaslighting that comes out of neocon and neoliberal circles. That must be it.
The idea that somehow Chuck Todd is now taking umbrage because politicians lied to the news. He's saying they gaslighted us. That's what they do. It's those same.
Of course, that's what they all do, right?
That's the same people who say that, the reason why they hate Donald Trump is because he's a big liar. If you think that Chuck Todd and the news people, CNN, they hate Donald Trump because he went to Washington, D.C. and he started lying, I've got a vaccine I'd like to sell you.
Yeah. David Frum is editor-in-chief at the Atlantic magazine.
That's right.
And one of the engineers of the
Iraq War,
vile Iraq War live. Does he have it? Does that magazine now have a journalistic integrity issue because he runs it? They've never said that. They would never come anywhere near saying that.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, London, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Edmonton, Alberta, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Denver, Colorado. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.